Okay, before I tap out for the night, this is a video that I saw before today, but it's been sticking with me. It came in my feed from Kizzume. I don't know if I saw it on TikTok or on YouTube as a short, but I found it on YouTube as a short. It's called Someone's Views Don't Dictate Whether They're a Good Person. That's the title of it. And I'll just play a snippet of it for y'all. Here we go.
Someone's socio-political viewpoints are not directly tied to whether they're good people or whether they're good to hang out with.
That's all I want to respond to. He goes on, but says that he's got friends that don't believe the same things as him, and that he's still friends with them. And I commented, I forget where, that I even disagree with him on this, and we're still friends. But let me break down why I disagree with him on this. So, from my perspective, when someone has a political stance that's, a firmly held belief, it's not just an abstract opinion. It's a reflection of your core values, right? These are your ethical orientations that these are really important to match up with if you're going to have a really authentic friendship with someone, right? This will create differences in personality traits, for sure. And in Kizume's video, he says it has nothing to do with like the personality of whether or not they're a good person. I'm like, no, yeah, it does. It will affect your personality if you're working things backwards from the political viewpoints. But I actually work them the other way. That who you are in your core values, your ethics. That is what makes you eventually land on a political ideation, right? And they can affect each other back and forth, but which perspective you're looking at it from can really help you in life as far as weaning out who would be a good person to hang out with. Because sometimes people have different labels for the same views, and sometimes people think that their club that they like to be a part of holds the views that match their ethics when really they don't. Such as Republicans who don't have the wallet to be voting Republican and think that their guy is going to come through for them when he's just going to make things worse for them. That's a thing. But you can have a real mismatch of core values, and when this happens around things like empathy and justice, these are things that I prioritize. If equity is something that I really am very strongly in favor of, and equity as a word is something that scares another person away, we're not going to get along, right? I believe in collective responsibility over things, whereas some people are very individualistic, especially in America, right? And so, whereas I think it's important for us all to help each other out, some people might think it's more important to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. And I got mine, so why don't you go get yours, right? We're not going to get along that well. On a lot of things, we're going to disagree, but it's just going to be tough for me to sit around them, all right? When they use that individuality to defend policies that will be attacking marginalized people, or really show me that their moral priorities are not the same as mine, then it's just hard for me to sit with them and be authentic as a friend. You know, it's just driving the chasm between us even further. You know, even wider. You know, it's like, and it's really hard to feel safe and respected around them. If all of their beliefs are attacking who you are, and who your family and your friends are, then it's really hard to feel like they respect you. You know? And I would say that a defensiveness towards the concept of privilege, it really prevents an honest dialogue on things, you know, and friendships require a vulnerability for you to mutually grow together as, you know, people in a relationship, be it friendship or otherwise, right? And if people are so defensive about something that is true, then it's going to make it hard to have an authentic relationship with them. If they refuse to acknowledge their own privilege, say that individualism tells them that, like, they earned everything that they worked for by themselves, when actually there was a lot helping them out to get there, right? I'm going to give an example of a company that doesn't want to pay taxes that pave the roads, but they're a trucking company, and they think that they earned their money, so they shouldn't have to, you know, pay for everybody else to have roads. You know, they earned their money the hard way, but then they don't realize that the roads helped them earn that money. You know, same thing on the individual level. Some people think that they deserve everything that they have because they worked so hard for it, but they were actually given a head start in life, and they just don't want to recognize that because it hurts their idea of who they are. It's not something that they like to look at, that they did not have to earn everything that they had, you know, that they had help. And why? I don't know. Like, I'm happy to tell people that I had a family that privileged me. You know, I'm happy to brag that my education is also owed to the support of other people, you know, and all of my successes, you know, they aren't just mine. But if that person that I'm trying to be a friend to is very individualistic and just doesn't acknowledge these things, it's going to be hard for us to get along. It really obstructs an authentic connection. So, yeah. I think authoritarianism and conservatism are separate. They just kind of right now are going together like stink on shit. But many right-leaning ideologies align with hierarchies and obedience to authority, right? They don't have to, but right now they really are. And this, it can breed a personality in someone that values dominance over dialogue, right? For example, you don't see me challenging people to debates on YouTube anymore. So like we'll get into a live stream where we're both debating, because I don't value whether or not someone can shout over me or cut me off in a conversation. If you want to have a discussion with me, I prefer this format where I can't be cut off by someone and I can get my full point across, and people watching don't value whether or not they can cut me off or startle me. You know, that value of debate tactics over actual truth. That's something that is bred by this right-leaning obedience to authority, and it's something that I just don't align with. It makes friendships with people like that seem very one-sided, and also transactional. And I'm all about being mutual and egalitarian, and the boogeyman equity word. I like when my community comes together for potlucks, and helping each other out. I'm gonna say tolerance for bigotry is a deal breaker for me, right? Like, fucking red flag, right? If somebody comes at me and says that I'm intolerant because I'm not tolerant of their bigotry, or I'm not tolerant of somebody else who they're tolerant of their bigotry, big fucking red flag for me. Look up the discourse that's already out there, about intolerance. And it's just, when someone knowingly excuses and minimizes like racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, and all that, be it like a serious policy conversation or like just jokes, right? To me, it signals like a big red fucking flag that they're willing to harm other people. And that moral red flag is like, it's just something that can't coexist with values-based friendships. It's... I hope I'm getting there to the point where people might understand that I'm not having people put their foot in the door anymore. By saying, oh, you need to come back to the table after, being bullied or just disrespected by somebody else. Like, no, I don't have to come back to the table or let you in or fight hard to get your comments stuck to my video when your comments are hateful anyway. If YouTube is flagging your shit down for me, because I don't do it, but if they are, I don't care to go looking to dig it up to see if I can do something for you. If it's a bigoted comment, then there used to be this value in the early days of YouTube of free speech means that you don't delete someone's comments. You don't, they have a right to leave their comments on your videos. And basically the worst people just went around and made a cesspool of every comment section and push out other people who want rational discourse without bigotry in it. And so, yeah, they certainly did a number on my community to where most of the people who comment on my things are not people who are aligned with me. They're hate watching me, because they chase everyone who's a nice, good person away. Good people don't usually spend a lot of time in the YouTube comment section. It's getting close to Thanksgiving, and I'm gonna have to go home to people who I only see very sparingly because they're family, and a big portion of that is their right-wing media diet. And the fact that I know that I want to walk into their house and there will be a TV on somewhere in the house that's blaring Fox News or some other thing, and it will... The Fox News commentator will be saying something like, "What do you think about Gen Zers deciding to go no contact with their boomer parents? That's wrong of them. They should still come back to the table for Thanksgiving." And it's like I've heard this so many times on a holiday at their place. I'm like, it must really resonate with them that they should be able to hurt people and then have them come back for more. And they just don't understand why people don't forgive them very easily, because, forgiveness is very important. Forgiveness and redemption. You should, let me keep abusing you each time I see you. Anyways, people who immerse themselves in right-wing media are often just very conspiratorial in their thinking. They use dehumanizing language. They have a disdain for nuance, even though sometimes they will say that it's the other side that has the disdain for nuance, or the other side that's trying to clamp down on their freedom of speech. They're good at projecting that shit. And this really makes casual conversations with them kind of exhausting and not very safe. And it also kind of undermines their curiosity and listening skills. I have a job where I'm paid to listen to people, and I feel like sometimes people who are stuck in this right-wing bubble, they really like to get their points across and don't leave room for other viewpoints. And they'll leave a conversation having dominated the whole thing with words flying out of their mouth and feel like it was a real conversation. That's what they value in a conversation, is getting to speak rather than spending at least a portion of that time listening. And so the way that this affects their ability to be curious about other people and listen to them, it's really just hard to have a friendship thrive when they're not curious about others. They only want to spew about people who are the same and thoughts that are the same as theirs. They're homogenizing in the way that they think and talk and participate in communication. Okay? It's hard to be friends with that. Also, they have different definitions of what freedom is and different ideas about responsibility. I would probably define freedom as in terms of liberation and access to things like healthcare and reproductive rights and stuff, right? So, I'm not even going to pick up a book and flash it. I thought about it. There's enough books behind me over there, but, like, I'm going to leave the books on my desk. I'm just going to say that, so I see it as, like, the liberation and excess of, like, having a library versus conservatives viewing liberation and freedom and and responsibility as being like it's not our responsibility to pay for that library, and if taxes are being used to keep it up, then we don't want it. But like, I feel freer and have more freedom to learn if such a public library exists, right? And I feel like that freedom outweighs other people not liking being taxed for public good on things like libraries and roads and fire departments and whatnot. But I would extend that to things that have not become, as a matter of course, public utilities like healthcare and reproductive rights and all that. And this disconnect between like conservatives wanting freedom to mean freedom from government interference in their life, and me wanting freedom to mean pursuit of happiness and the ability to learn and the ability to have other learned people that I can meet, instead of what we have now, which is I can't even get my order right at Taco Bell without them fucking something up because they need a better education. And after a bout of political violence, I'm left wondering what the motivations of the person was, because we don't get manifestos anymore because we need more public education. And public education might have stopped the act in the first fucking place, but that's neither here nor there, right? Anyways, this disconnect between our different ideas of whose responsibility is what, and what makes us more free. This relates to bodily autonomy and reproductive rights for sure, but like taxes and climate and just it creates tensions in everyday topics of conversation when you're thinking about being a friend with someone who does not align with you at their core, right? Bringing it back to the point. So, if I were to be a part of some of the protests that you've seen me at the past, or like stop and pick up a sticker from protesters now and then be caught with that sticker at my home or on my water bottle, and then have to have a conversation about, oh, you're an activist now, or you're a protester. The way that they don't like people speaking back and speaking, they don't like other people exercising their freedom of speech, and they try to shut it down. And that disdain for the activism and protest feels personal to me, because that's what's left of places to be able to speak, and just the way that they're trying to tell people how they should be protesting or exercising the freedom of speech, such as don't you fucking kneel during my football game. my football game time is sacred. I want you to do some kind of protest that I don't have to see. You know? They want to, like, eliminate all the ways that they could ever have to see your fucking point of view. So when I'm part of a protest for, like, racial justice, trans rights, labor rights, protecting immigrants from ICE, they're not just disagreeing with the tactic of protesting. They're, like, disregarding, like, an entire community's right to exist and speak in a way that they wouldn't be able to hear it and fight for survival. And it's hard to trust them as an ally, let alone a friend, when they don't want to hear what you have to say. So, like, when they're not interested in what you have to say, this creates a frustration, especially when I'm trying to point out things like systemic thinking and systemic problems. So I've got a lot of systemic critiques about the world we live in, about capitalism, policing, patriarchy, all that stuff, right? And any friend who's refusing to engage in any sort of framework that might have them have to reflect on themselves and how they've been a part of the problem. Or worse, they could be mocking that. They just feel intellectually incompatible to me. And it leaves me feeling intellectually and emotionally isolated and not wanting to be feeling alone when I'm right next to another human being who just doesn't want to hear what I have to say. They, you know, there's no place lonelier than when you're in a formation full of people that all disagree with you and you're just having to stand there and shut the fuck up, you know? Yeah. People with these conservative leanings, they sometimes make jokes that are about marginalized groups, and it's like the level of humor isn't there, you know. It's like take an average conservative person and they'll think, oh, well, we need freedom of speech to be able to say these racist jokes, you know, or things that reflect an unconscious bias about other people. And they don't have to be intentionally cruel, right? They might think that if you say the joke in the couching that it is a joke, that it's okay. You don't really mean it. These moments, they accumulate. And they erode trust. And this would force me to have that exhausting role of educator and tolerator of somebody who just has a lot of bigotry in them, you know, and a lot of hatred. And in this context, I'm saying tolerance is like very low on what kind of forms of friendship you could have with someone when you have to tolerate them. I would rather be up here where I'm accepting of them more, and then maybe even up here where I can love them because they feel like loving other people too instead of just themselves. Tolerance should not be the goal to keep everyone just tolerant of each other. We should be more accepting and loving of each other. And I know probably years ago I've said that same thing here on my channel, but like, goddamn, I'm here saying it again. These people, being around them is draining because the moral compromise of it. I don't work for law enforcement or ICE right now because, I see the commercial, like $50,000 sign-on bonus. Tuition forgiveness. There's all the fucking money that we needed for education. Just go work to, send brown people to other countries and kick them out of ours. That's all you need to do to earn the college money now. Wow. Damn. That's a lot for a bonus. $50,000 sign-on bonus. Did you see that commercial? Fuck. I'm not going to work for them. That's why they got to pay that much. It's because so many people don't align with the values that it takes to work that job. It's a job for a white supremacist. And so many people would not take that job. They turn their nose up at that job because it's so obvious. And that's why they have to put out bonuses like that. It's dangerous for those ICE people to go into the community because the community is pushing back against ICE. Because they are Trump's new private army of brown shirts. Anyways, I got off topic there a little bit. But you don't see me working a job like that. You don't see me associating myself with those things. Because the moral compromise of hanging out with people who are not in alignment with you is draining. Friendship requires a degree of admiration and goodwill. And any person who is supporting policies that harm other people or actively votes for candidates who promote oppression of people, it feels like a betrayal of shared humanity, and maintaining a friendship with them is not just draining. It feels like complicity after a while. If I try to speak and am not being able to be heard on certain issues, and then I just keep on hanging out with this person who disagrees with me, it's if they're never going to come around to being a better human being, then I start to feel like, well, maybe I'm just going to become more like them and start hating my fellow man and wanting to other people and not help people out. It's why I chose a helping profession. I just like helping people. Like people helping people. Oh my god. That's why on a deep, deep level I disagree with Kizzume when he says that someone's views don't dictate whether or not they're a good person. They're directly reflective of what their core values are and what their personality is. And Do I have friends that I disagree with on things? Yeah. Kizzume's one of them. This is the thing that we're disagreeing on. But you have to agree on a lot to be really good friends with somebody. And maybe it's a difference of the definition of friend. You know, I see a friend as something that isn't trying to hurt you. And, just because you show up to a certain location or in a certain context, and in that context they smile and welcome their opposition to the table, and everybody gets to in a very secular round table way have their chance to talk, even though they try to talk over the other people, but like they don't kill each other while they're at the table. If they're saying things that are attacking other people, and then everybody just like leaves that all believing what they believed before, right? I just don't feel like that's a friendship that was had, where one person who knows what friendship is and practices it encounters another person who is more transactional and more bigoted, and then they think that friendship is that, and they even try to, state openly, we're friends though, right? Even though I do these things, it's like, that's not friendship. It's just not friendship. Friendship is more than being open to disagreement with someone. There has to be, more of an alignment and more of a willingness to help one another and protect each other, and a willingness to make a place safe for the other person that you are claiming is your friend. And I feel like, especially in Kizzume's case, there are people that constantly get called back to the table after being hurt by the people at the table. And they would be better off finding another table to sit at. Are we adding just saying to the end of a lot of videos, like in honor of Bionic Dance? Because I feel like she was the one who started that, but now Kizzume's doing it. It's like, I almost want to say it myself. Like, it's contagious. Just saying.